Hello, my name is Bella and welcome back to the 100 Acre Wool Knitting Podcast. This is where I like to share with you and talk to you about what I've been making recently, and that's mostly knitting related, sometimes some sewing as well. So today I have quite a few things to share with you. I have a finished object, some knitting finished object, and also some knitting works in progress. I have some quilting updates to share with you, and then also some yarn acquisitions that I have a very fun project planned for. So stay tuned for that. Grab a cup of something warm, cozy up, and let's get into it. So it's been a couple of weeks since I've been able to record a knitting podcast, but needless to say, I have quite a few projects that I've been working on that I have to share with you. And first, you may notice a little difference in the background here if you are a returning viewer to this podcast. That plant is no longer there, or the plant that was there is no longer there. Long story short, a couple of days ago, the plant that was there in the pot and everything, it was in a ceramic pot, really, really heavy with soil. It was a real plant, and it just fell over. All of a sudden, nobody touched it. I didn't touch it. No, nothing happened. Just all of a sudden, it just fell over and crashed on the ground and cracked. And we have wood floors in here, and it was a mess. There was soil everywhere, and the plant was very much kind of destroyed. So I've been trying to save what is left of the plant, trying to see if I can propagate it and save it, but the pot is totally gone, and yeah, so I've just put this little guy here as like kind of an in-between. That's another one of my plants. So we'll see what happens with the guy that was there, and whether I'll be getting a new plant for that spot, I'm not sure. But yeah, so a little crazy thing happened a few days ago there. But anyways, on the topic of knitting, I will first share with you guys a finished object that I finished recently. So again, if you're not new to this channel, you may have seen this work in progress. I finished my pair of socks for my grandmother that I've been knitting for her. I'm so happy how they turned out. I think they came out so cute, and they're really cozy and comfy. So these are some socks that my grandmother commissioned me to make for her. I had made a hat for her that kind of matches these in a way. It kind of matches the top ribbing here. And she wanted some socks that would kind of go along with those. So I made her some socks, and it's taken me quite a while to finish these, so I'm really happy that they're finally off the needles and I can finally give them to her. All the ends are woven in now, they're blocked, and they're all ready to go. So this is made from, let's see, Drops alpaca yarn. So the top here, I used two different bases. So the top ribbing section here is Drops alpaca in 8 different colors. And then the main body portion is Drops MKAL, I believe is the name. If I'm wrong, I will put the name of it here. But it has a little bit of polyamide in it, which I thought would be better for as like a sock base. And it's also a higher twist, so that also adds strength to the yarn and is better for using for sock knitting. So yeah, I think that went really well together. They're both also, well, the Drops alpaca obviously has alpaca in it. It's 100% alpaca, and then the other base that I used for the main portion of the sock, it also has a high amount of alpaca content, so you can't really tell a difference between the two bases. They're also both fingering weight yarns, so I think they go really well together if you kind of want to use both. You know, kind of do some detailing up at the top where, you know, there wouldn't be as much wear on that part of the sock, and then use the stronger yarn for the main portion of the sock. Yeah, I really like how they went together. So I've had a few questions about this portion here at the top, the ribbing. So I didn't follow a pattern for this. I kind of did what I did on the hat. The hat that I made for my grandma also has the same kind of ribbing around the band of the hat. I'm not sure, what would you call that? The rim of the hat. It has the same kind of ribbing detail. So I did actually end up making a little pattern for this. If you are curious the kind of technique that I used, I'm basically just fading a few different colors between the ribbing. So like for all the knit stitches in the ribbing, I'm doing one fade of a few different colorways, and then for the purl stitches, I'm doing a different fade. So that's generally the technique that I used. I also made so yes, I have made a little pattern for this. It's free, it's going to be up on my Ravelry. It's not a full sock pattern, it's only for this little technique of ribbing because some people asked about it and I thought it would be too complicated to try to explain, so I just made a little pattern for that, so you can check that out if you're curious. And as far as the main sock goes, I did follow a pattern for the main portion of the sock. So this is a pattern by Boleyn Yarns. She puts out some patterns as well, and this is her free sock pattern. And it's really easy to follow, really great. It's worked top down. So yeah, you start at the cuff, obviously, and then you knit down. It's a gusset heel here, and then you do your decreases, and then you work down the foot here, and you end at the toe. And I think it's a really, really great pattern if you're new to socks, or even if you're not new to socks, or maybe you've knit, toe up and you want to try cuff down. I think this is a great pattern for that. This was the first cuff down sock pattern that I've ever used for like a full-size sock. I've made some like mini socks before as kind of Christmas ornaments that were also cuff down, but these were the first like human size that I've made. So yeah, I really think it's a great pattern if you're trying to learn sock knitting or anything like that. And it's free, so can't beat that. That's awesome. So yeah, I'm really happy how these came out, and they're finally going to be going off to my grandmother now so she can finally wear them. And if you are curious about this technique of the ribbing, you don't have to use it only on socks, obviously. Like I said, I used it also on the brim of the hat, and you can use it on so many things. Literally any project that would have ribbing on it if you want to do this sort of technique. I think it's really cool looking. So if you're curious about that little pattern that I've written up, you can check it out. I will link it in the description below. And I also link everything else that I'm going to be discussing in today's video. All of those links are going to be down below in the description bar. Next up is a little update on my Anne Boleyn cardigan, which has been in the works, oh my gosh, for so long, but I'm trucking through it. I'm going to get it done this year. I am very determined to get it done this year. So it's coming along well. And I have finally finished the front portion of the body. It's going to kind of be difficult for me to show you here because it's kind of thin and it's wanting to curl up on itself because it's kind of stockinette stitch. Hopefully I can try to show you some of it here. That's kind of the bust area. But anyways, this is a project that I've been working on for quite a while. It's a pattern by Alice Starmore, and it's part of our Tudor Roses KAL, which I'm co-hosting with two other podcasters, Gabriella of MerryWeather Knitting and Zofia of Bouquet Creations. So we're endeavoring to make something from Alice Starmore's Tudor Roses book, and all those patterns are just so intricate and beautiful and just so detailed, and it's really, really taking me a long time to get through it, but I'm having so much fun with it, and I think it's just going to be so beautiful when it's finished. And I'm so surprised how quickly this went. I mean, relatively. So the back portion, I already have the back portion of this cardigan finished. It's obviously going to be seamed. So basically the general construction, if you aren't aware of this pattern, it has two front panels. So it's a long sleeve full length cardigan or jacket, however you want to say it. So it has two front panels on either side here. There's going to be a button band down the center, obviously two arms, two full sleeves, and then a back panel. That's all one piece. So I've already knit the back panel. That's all finished. And it took me very long. I want to say like half the year just to finish the back portion. I don't know why it took me so long, but it did. And this front portion, I think, has only taken me maybe a month and a half or so to finish all of it. And like, if you think about it, this is like half of the front, which the front and the back are probably pretty similar in square inches of knitting. So I'm kind of interested, like, what happened there, like how I got so much faster. Maybe because I was like maybe understanding the pattern more, and I don't know what it was, but something happened and this section got done a lot faster. So it is really, really beautiful how it is designed in the pattern. So you cast on at the bottom and you work up, and there's also some waist shaping, which is really, really beautiful. Very subtle, but really beautiful part of the pattern. So you keep working up, and then you have the armhole decreases here. This is the left side, so it's going to be like this. So we have the armhole decreases on that side, and then you keep working up, and then there's going to be kind of a collar here that folds over. So that's that portion, and then the shoulder portion there. So really, really intricate shaping on this. It really reminds me of sewing, actually. Since each piece is worked flat, it's kind of like if you're sewing a garment and you have to, cut out each piece of fabric, it's just a flat piece. Whereas knitting, if you're knitting in the round, you can kind of knit in a shape. Or if you're doing short rows or things like that, it's not exactly the same to sewing. But this project really, really feels similar to sewing because you're basically like making the pattern, or you're making the fabric as the pattern as you're knitting, and it's just really, really cool. Like making the shapes of what you would normally cut out of fabric. I just think that's kind of a cool idea. And then there's also these baubles, which just add such a cool texture. I wonder if I turn it, can you tell? Maybe not. I can't really get this any closer, it'll go out of focus, but maybe you can see the texture of the baubles there. It's really, really cool. And especially on the back portion as well, like if you just run your fingers down. Oh my gosh, it's so cool feeling. I love a good textural fabric in knitting. I think that's so much fun that you can do that with knitting. So many opportunities, so many possibilities with knitting. So this is coming along really well. And I've also actually started on the right panel of the front portion. So I am trucking along. We will see how quickly I can get this done. And I'm also planning on casting on something else very soon. And I'll talk about that more towards the end of the video. But yeah, I'm going to have quite a few things on my plate. But this project is really going to take priority because I want it to be finished by the end of the year. Not going to rush myself on it. But just really going to be mindful about what I am knitting on and, prioritizing this out of all my other whips, because I do have quite a few. Yeah, so I think that's all I'll say for this project for today. And I should mention, if you are knitting this pattern or if you are curious about knitting it, I have made a little tutorial video about how to do the baubles, since that does seem to be kind of a barrier of entry for a lot of knitters. They are, I don't know, nervous or don't know if they can do the baubles. It was definitely a nervous thing for me as well. It just took some time and patience to figure it out. So another project that I've been working on is my Yell cardigan, and I've been having a lot of fun with this project, but a little snafu happened, and you win some, you lose some. So anyways, this is how it's looking now. It has grown quite a bit, and this may look, if you're aware of this pattern, if it's, you know what it is, it may look to you like the body is finished, which that's what it looks like to me, because the pattern is supposed to kind of be a square. The body portion of this cardigan, it kind of becomes like a square, and then you have the arms attached to it. It's a drop shoulder design, so the arms are kind of just sticking out of the body. But anyways, this looks like it might be finished. It's almost a square of knitting here. Almost. But I got into the groove of knitting and I forgot to look at the pattern. I'm wondering if you guys have ever had this happen to you. So I was chugging along on the body of this cardigan. It's worked bottom up, so I'm knitting in the round all the way up and doing this crazy cool motif of color work. It's a 2-color motif here for the main portion of the body. And I was really getting into it. I've been knitting with podcasts on, knitting podcasts, but then also I've been knitting recently listening to audiobooks. So I would just sit there for hours and just knit on this like round after round after round and just get super into what I was listening to. My mind was occupied, my hands were occupied, I was just really focused in. And before I knew it, I had gotten so far on this. I had gotten so far on this that I forgot to look at the pattern again and make sure that I was actually following the pattern correctly. So what ended up happening is that I was supposed to add in arm steeking stitches to this portion of the body section, but I was supposed to start them way before where I actually am right now. So like the pattern said to knit a certain number of inches from the bottom, and then you would start adding in arm steek stitches on either side of the body that you would later cut open, and then that would become the armhole to which you would attach the arms. So I didn't do that, and now I need to rip back a good 3 inches, I think, of this colorwork knitting, which just kind of pains me so much. I know, I'm kind of whining about it, but I did spend a long time on this, and it is colorwork, and it's just a lot of stitches, and you know, I'd rather not waste my time. I mean, I guess it was entertaining, so there's that. I guess if you have fun, then you're not wasting your time, right? But anyways, you know, it's kind of sad to rip back your knitting. But I think I definitely have to, otherwise it will be way too long, and I would also run out of yarn. Most definitely I would run out of yarn before I could finish the whole garment. So yeah, I'm really thinking I'm going to have to rip back. So if you're not aware of the concept of steeking for knitting, it's used very commonly in colorwork designs, and in this particular pattern it's used once in the body. So I'll turn this around. This is like kind of the front portion of the body. So this kind of odd looking line here of colors, this is my steeking line that I'm going to be cutting open once this body is finished. It'll be cut open so that this isn't just a tube, since it is just a tube of knitting right now. In order to make it a cardigan that you can actually put on, I'll have to cut it open. So to do that for the arms as well, so that you have, you know, actually an armhole that the arms can be attached to for this, you have to add in steeking stitches that you will later cut into. And if you don't add in the steeking stitches, then you're going to be cutting into the main fabric, which you wouldn't have enough inches to meet around. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that well. I don't think I am. But essentially you need to add more fabric where the armhole would be, so that you have fabric that you can kind of fold over and tack down. I guess how you could explain it is it's kind of like a seam allowance in sewing. So it's fabric that you need there, but it's not actually going to be shown in the end garment on the outside, but it's just something that you need to have something to attach the arm to. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. Anyways, I don't think there's any way that I can add in steeking stitches to my fabric that already exists. So I do think I'm just going to have to rip back and add in the stitches and then knit again. So that's okay. It's just more time and more love put into this garment, which I am really loving how it's turning out. And this is not going to be, you know, thrown into the pile and never looked at again. I definitely want to finish this at some point. Not sure when that'll be, but yeah, definitely want to finish this. Hopefully when it's still cold out, or maybe more into winter, so I can actually wear it. Since I do live in California and it gets quite hot, I can't really wear wool during the summer, unless it's like a tank top. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. Yeah, so that's the last knitting work in progress. Now let's get into my quilt, some sewing that I've been working on. So I have started working on a quilt table topper, and I made some progress with it in the past few weeks. So I finished the quilt top, and then I also finished the quilt sandwich, which is the quilt top and also the quilt batting in between, and then I just did a simple white cotton for the backside. So I have started on free motion quilting, which is this is my first project ever doing free motion quilting, and I was really scared to begin with. I do have, I think, a good machine. It's not meant for quilting, but I think it was gonna work for this, so I was like, okay, I might as well just do it myself, rather than having it sent out to be done. So I just looked up some YouTube tutorials on how to do this, and they basically say just have fun with it and really just play around. Also to practice on a scrap piece before you actually get into quilting your actual quilt, which that was great advice. I would highly recommend that if you're ever thinking of doing any quilting. It just allows you to not feel so scared that you're going to mess up, your real project. And it was just fun. Like, it feels like you're drawing with thread. It's actually really, really fun to do. And it's kind of quick in a way, since you are going and you keep going and you keep going. Like, it's constant. It's not like a stop and start thing. And it is a machine, so it can go quite quickly. But yeah, I was kind of going a little slower just to make sure that it was looking how I wanted it to. But anyways, so I did the free motion quilting on this little panel of 5-inch squares. So I'm loosely following the pattern. This pattern is actually from a book of quilt table toppers. This is the book, just called Table Toppers. So I'm loosely following the free motion quilting design that they include in the book, or that they have shown on this particular table topper. I thought it looked kind of cool. It kind of looks like geometric rocks, like natural looking kind of rocks. I thought it was cool looking, so I thought I would do that. And I think it turned out pretty well. There are a few points that you can see my line went a little too far or too short, and it doesn't quite match up. But overall, I think it's okay for my first attempt. And yeah, it is really freeing. I mean, free motion quilting. It is very fun to do, and you just kind of get in the zone and get in the rhythm of it. It was a fun little kind of meditative state of doing the free motion quilting. So I did that all the way down. I'm almost done with it. This is quite a long table topper. It's going to be going on the top of kind of a large piece of furniture. So yeah, so I've gone almost all the way down. There's a little bit more I have to do on this side. And then I'm going to be doing the same thing on the other side of the quilt. So this is the other side. Haven't gotten to that yet. And then I'm also going to be doing some free motion in the center here. A different design, probably. Might be some swirly designs, I'm not sure. But yeah, so that was pretty fun. And I also like how it looks on the back. You can see, I think, the detail probably a lot better since it's just on plain white fabric. Hopefully that's coming out. I can't actually see in the camera there. Hopefully you can see the detail of that. So that has been a fun little sewing project to work on. And now let's get into my new yarn acquisitions. So if you are a knitter, which you probably are if you're watching this podcast, then you are probably aware of the Stephen West make-along that is coming up very soon. So I heard about this from Stephen West's multiple social channels, and I have never done a mystery knit along. I've always wanted to, but just haven't had the opportunity to. I didn't see any of them come up. But when I heard about Stephen West that was coming up, it just seemed so cool to me. So this year's make-along is called Shawlography, and I just thought that was such a cool name, especially since Stephen himself, he's really into dance. I think he actually went to school for dance, either in high school or college, somewhere in there. And I know to this day he is still very much into dance. So I think it's kind of a play on words of choreography and mixing shawl and choreography. So shawlography. I thought that was such a cool meld of words. And also kind of the images that come to mind, the visual ideas that come to mind, at least for me, when I think of choreography, dance, color, knitting, shawls, like all of that, it just seems like a really beautiful design would come out of that. I'm just very excited to see what it turns into. And if you aren't aware of what a mystery knit along is, it's basically that you're knitting a project that you don't know what it's going to look like at the end. It's a mystery. So all that they give you at the beginning, or in this case, in Stephen's mystery knit along this year, he only tells you what yarn you need and what needle size you need, or what gauge that you need. And then every single week for, I think it's going to be through the month of October, might go into November, I'm not sure, but every week he's going to send you a new portion of the pattern, and you kind of get to knit along with all these other knitters that are also taking part in the mystery knit along, seeing what they're making, seeing how theirs are coming out. and it's just a really fun, like, community kind of a process, I think. I'm just really excited to cast on and be a part of it. And this is also me kind of getting out of my comfort zone. I'm very much a end product knitter. I am a process knitter as well. I do really love the active knitting, but I do really knit for the end product. Like, I want to make sure that I would actually wear the end product, or whoever I'm making it for, that we're going to like how it turns out. So this is kind of me getting out of my comfort zone. Since I have no idea what this is going to turn out looking like at the end, I thought it would be a fun kind of creative just process to let go of whatever you're hoping or thinking it will look like and just go with the flow and just have fun with the knitting. And also the community aspect of it is so much fun to me. So I will show you what yarn I have gotten for that. So Stephen and Penelope a few weeks ago, they put out a few yarn kits specifically for this make along. So I picked up one of those and I'm so excited. The colors are just, they are just so me. So I'll show you what they are. So this kit was just calling to me. It is definitely my kind of colorways. So here we go. That is all of them that I will need to make this shawl. So it is 5 different colors, and it's 100 grams of each color. So these are each 50 grams. And it is Acre. I think that's how you say the yarn brand, Acre. It's the alpaca 2 base, which, surprise, surprise, alpaca. Do I love alpaca or do I love alpaca? Both of the things that I'm wearing right now are actually like all alpaca yarn. So anyways, yeah, really beautiful base. This is my first time going to be using Acre yarn, and it's really lovely. It's so beautiful. And the colors are just so me. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. It's kind of muted tones in a way, which I really love. And I was looking at them again. I was looking at the colors again after they came in the mail a couple days ago. And they're very much similar to the Anne Boleyn colors that I chose, I think. I don't know what it is. I'm just being drawn to these purpley golden, like, muted tones recently. But that's okay. Maybe I'll be wearing these together. So anyways, this was a kit that Stephen and Penelope had. Just spoke to me. I had to pick it up. It was so beautiful. And also with their kits that they also included this year was a really cute little bag. Really cute little project bag here. So it has the little Stephen and Penelope Yarns logo and a really cute pink that goes really well with the rest of the yarns. So I'm definitely going to be using this as the project bag for this shawl. And then what also came is a really cool sticker for this year's knit along. I thought that was so cool. Sorry, not knit along. Mystery knit along. Oh wait, it is a knit along. Whatever. And then also, this actually was really, really cool to me. So they also include a kind of a clothing label, but it says Mystery Knit Along 2021 and Westknits. So this is going to be so cool to sew on the shawl once it's finished. So it's kind of like, you know, a little memento. You'll know years later when you come back and you look at it, you'll know, oh, that's when I knit this. And I just think that's such a cool idea. So that's going to be really cool to sew on the shawl when it's finished. And then last but not least part of the kit was these lazy swatch little, I don't know what you want to call these, lazy swatches. So Stephen kind of explained how to use these. It's really a fun, really ingenious idea, I think. So he tells you to wrap the yarns that you're planning on using together. So you can kind of wrap the yarns that you're planning on using around this little piece and kind of see how the colors are going to play together. So I think that's just a really ingenious idea. I think I will definitely be using these so that, you know, you don't have to knit a swatch, you don't have to take the time to do that. And if you just want to see how the colors are playing together, you know, which colors you like next to each other, that sort of an idea, I definitely think that these are really, really cool. And also another aspect is that they're 4 inches between each of the little legs here is 4 inches. So it's like an easy gauge swatch measure. So super ingenious. Thank you for including those. Really, really great. So I think Steven is going to add some more kits to their shop. If you're curious about getting one from him, I know a bunch of other yarn dyers are doing it as well, or he definitely encourages you to like go through your stash and find something from there. It's all fingering weight yarn, so 5 skeins of fingering weight yarn, all different colors. And he also really encourages you to play with contrast with your colors. So if you are planning on joining the knit along, he definitely says try to get colors that are like one dark, one medium, and one light, and then some tones in the middle there. I think, you know, having to do with the design, I think there's going to be something where contrast will really make it pop, whatever the design happens to be. So I'm really, really excited for that. And I hope you guys will be also joining along in this make along. I'm really excited to go on Instagram, go on YouTube, and see what everyone else is making and the colors they chose and how it's coming out. And I think this is just going to be so much fun. So I think the cast on party is October 8th. So get all your yarn, get everything that you want to use by October 8th, and then everyone's going to be casting on and starting their projects. So that's everything that I have to share with you all today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did enjoy today's episode, please make sure to like this video. And also, if you're not subscribed to my channel already, please do subscribe and make sure to click the bell notification icon so that way you get notified every time I post a new video. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks again for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye-bye.